What is going on, ladies and gentlemen? Electric Infamous here once again. Here is another video I've been kind of wanting to make. There's no comparison at all anymore because I did that in my previous video. But anyways, I'm gonna be talking a little bit more on the lines of why I chose to go pure rogue, which is part of the finesse destiny. Um, the reason why I went with the finesse or pure rogue with the Verani, of course, is because it's always been my favorite type of playstyle. No matter if it's in Oblivion, no matter if it's in Skyrim, no matter if it's in Kingdoms of Amalur or any other kind of game that gives you a certain type of concept or aspect of that type of gameplay style, if any kind of game or like maybe World of Warcraft. I know that there's like they have those types of builds as well. So I don't know because I haven't played that game. Well, that was like years ago. But anyways, I guess I proved my point there. But another reason why I love this build more so, not just like in the Elder Scrolls games specifically in Skyrim, is because I'm a sucker when it comes to stealth characters, especially when you have stealth characters that are going to be able to um, provide some really good amount of DPS, basically, which is going to be the damage per second. Um, but it also has to do with when it comes to Kingdoms of Amalur, you're basically going in Kingdoms of Amalur though. When you go with pure finesse, you're basically to be using a lot more critical hit damage and physical damage and critical hit chance than anything. Yes, you could be able to do that with any kind of race within this game, but that's basically what a rogue is, though. They deal with a lot of critical hit damage and critical hit chance, and it's not just that though. It's the fact that they use paralytic poisons. They use different types of styles to where how you can eliminate your enemies. And I think that's another really good way as to why I really love this type of uh, gameplay style or play style. It's just so cool. I mean, it's awesome to have that type of feeling to where it's like you can be like a game like Ghost of Tsushima. You're a samurai, dude. It's like ultimate badass, right? Well, you kind of have that though too in Kingdoms of Amalur, but you're not really a samurai though. You're more on the lines of you have the pure might, you have the pure finesse, and you have the pure sorcery. And I believe that's gonna be a different video, so I'm not gonna go off topic from there on. But that's why I'm saying as to why I love the finesse or pure rogue in this game. It's not just because of the abilities that you can do. It has to do with the stealth. Like I said, I love stealth when it comes to a lot of games that implement the stealth mechanics very, very well, or like amazingly done well at all. Like the Splinter Cell games. You have or like the Metro games. The Metro games implement some stealth though too. It's okay. I don't think it's the best, but it does a really good job of how you want to be able to have that type of implementation in terms of the stealth mechanics in that series. Um, Elder Scrolls V Skyrim has a really good stealth mechanic. I think it's not realistic, but it's arcadey type of realistic stealth mechanics. But it's good. It gives you a certain type of it gives you kind of like a good imagination as to where how far the stealth can go in terms of the stealth mechanics in Skyrim. But it's the same thing as like that within Kingdoms of Amalur. So that's another reason why I love the stealth mechanic and the pure rogue itself. Now there is a downside though when it comes to the pure rogue in Kingdoms of Amalur specifically. I really think is that they are very squishy, but you have to be very careful in terms of being squishy playing as the rogue in Kingdoms of Amalur. But it also has to do with of how you're going to implement different types of um you can put on your armor and your weapons, and like I say, like I said before, with the rogue build especially, it has to do with the critical hit damage. It has to do with the critical hit chance. But it's not just about having, but on top of that, it's not just about having, like, how can I explain it? If you go under status and then you go under effects, it'll show you that you, like on my character as you see here, I have envenomed edge on there right now, right? I have the blade honing that's going to help me do 40% critical hit damage with edged weapons. And then on top of that, you have Belen's blessing. Sometimes I have a hard time pronouncing that, so my bad on that. So with the Belen's blessing, you have a 101% chance of critical hit, and then you do 8% critical hit damage. But when you have that as your as your patron, basically, which is it's a buff to how you want to be able to have that specific type of play style with any kind of given race. But that's what's really cool about that. But when you have that, but when you have Bolen's blessing, as you see here, like I said, and when you have that 8% critical hit damage and the plus percent chance of critical hit, it's basically putting it on top of what you already have on your character, not just because of what's on your armor, but it also has to do with what's on your weapons as well. Because what's on your weapons or on your gear, like I said, with the spy suit, I do 8% critical hit damage, and then I have +3 to my finesse abilities. With my chest piece, I do 12% critical hit damage, and then I do, and I don't need to read the rest of that off. With my Paragon gloves, I can do only 5% critical hit damage, okay? With my leggings, I can do 5% critical hit damage, and then 18% critical hit damage with physical. That's a really good thing to have, especially if you want to do this type of playstyle, but that's just my opinion. You can do, like I said in a previous video, you can do whatever you want. This is what makes this game great. You can do any kind of playstyle. It doesn't matter what race you pick. And then on my boots, I also have 5% critical hit damage and 18% critical hit damage with physical. So when you have all that type of critical hit damage and or physical, you have to take it under consideration. Again, if you go to your effects, it'll also affect with the 1% chance of critical hit and your 8% critical hit damage. Because like I said, this is a buff. It's a patron buff to your specific playstyle, no matter what race you play as. That's it. I don't think I really need to go into the abilities because, again, I've explained that before. I think that that's not needed. But the only thing I can explain here real quick as well is the blade honing. The blade honing is what's going to really help you do much more damage while in combat. Even if it's the same thing as like when you're in stealth, it's going to make your weapons much more effective and going to be able to do that much more damage while in stealth mode. That's it. Once again. And then on top of that, you have the Assassin's Art. With your Assassin's Art, as high as it is because of my hood on my character, you're doing 70% chance critical damage, when attacking unaware enemies from stealth. And so here's another thing I actually want to address here as well. Now, when you're playing as a rogue, especially, I feel like that daggers are a really good way of, just basically doing stealth stuff, basically, okay? But when if enemies take notice, by all means, have a really good backup weapon, especially the Fey Blades, because I think the Fey Blades do a really good job in terms of the enemy control. Basically, because they do a good surmountable of area of effect damage, because they are a slower weapon of choice, but they do provide more damage, especially when you have maybe what 4 or 5 enemies around you. They can be able to do like a swirling attack, like I'll show you, like this, and it'll really help create a good surmountable of damage against your enemies. So that's pretty much what that does. It helps a much bigger area of effect especially if you're going to go into the fray, if you get noticed by doing stealth. That's where I'm going with this. So my apologies on that. But anyways, this is the Electric Infamous. I really appreciate it. I have a lot of fun making these videos. And this game it's not talked about a lot. And that's going to be completely separate. But anyways, too much further ado, really appreciate it. But like I said in my previous video, please, if you have any kind of comments or questions, leave down right down below. I'll try to reply as much as I can, or as soon as possible, whenever that's available. But peace.